going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places to celebrate the kingdom come. Let's go up. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places to celebrate the kingdom come. We've got to be strong. We've got to be bold.
We're gonna celebrate the kingdom come.
We're gonna reclaim everything the darkness stole. We're gonna celebrate the kingdom come. Let's go up. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places to celebrate the kingdom come.
Now we welcome you here to Unity Church of Hawaii this beautiful March morning. Please remember, we're going to take you to high places. Right, Don?
Yes, that's right, Ralph. And can we hear it for our newest Zamar member, Lorena? Yes. So, are you ready to celebrate?
Yes.
I don't believe you. Are you ready to celebrate?
Yes.
All right, band, let's take it up a notch. A 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places to celebrate the kingdom come. Let's go up. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places to celebrate the kingdom come.
We're gonna pull down the altar. We're gonna tear down that wall.
We're gonna raise up the banner of righteousness and declare that Christ is within us all. Let's go up. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places to celebrate the kingdom come. Let's go up. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places. We're going up to the high places to celebrate the kingdom come. 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 Let's go up.
Unity Church of Hawaii, we're going to take you to high places. Let's all go up. How about it? Yeah. All right. We thank you for joining us here this morning. We are a church that transforms lives and inspires people to make a positive difference in the world. If you're here to join us with that, then please stand and let's sing another song.
My life is in you, God. My strength is in you, God. My hope is in you, God. In you is in you. My life is in you, God. My strength is in you, God. My hope is in you,
Yes, indeed. My life is in you. I have friends visiting from the Northeast, sitting right here, Gary and Brenda Pavolato. It's so good to see them. And apparently, I bet they're thrilled that they're here because it's 28 degrees where they're from. Trying to convince them. I've been here for 32 years. You know, I'm trying to convince them. Indeed. To everyone else, Ekomo Mai, welcome to Unity Church of Hawaii, where we are transforming lives and we are inspiring people to make a positive difference in the world. And that is the truth. And speaking of truth, our co-founders, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, they both discovered truth and then lived that truth as they knew it to be, and they inspire us to do the same. And Unity is founded on affirmative prayer, on healing and wholeness, and being in constant conversation with God as we know God to be. And there is no life more delicious or sweet than that. And unity is a form of practical Christianity because in the midst of what is, we know the truth, always. So in the midst of disease, we only claim health and wholeness. In the midst of lack, we only claim unlimited prosperity. In the midst of conflict, we only claim peace. And friends, in the midst of hate, we only claim love. For love is our pure essence of being. And in doing that and in claiming these truths, we will bring heaven to earth. We will live the abundant life because that is our inheritance as the beloved of God. That's the truth. That's the truth that I'm sticking to. For I am a vibrant, unique expression of the living Christ. You are vibrant, unique expressions of the living Christ. We are vibrant, unique expressions of the living Christ. And that will transform the world to a world of what appears to be to a world of truth, of what is. Health, wholeness, prosperity, peace, and love. That's our holy purpose. And speaking of all of that, with the concern for what's going on in our world with the coronavirus, and we're going to greet today, but we're going to invite you to greet in a double way. I'm going to be joined by my colleagues. And we're going to demonstrate how an opportunity for you to greet one another today is going to happen. And I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm a little nervous. The little anxiety boy in me is coming out now. Take a breath into the truth. All is well because God is in the room. We were going to, you could do a namaste, which means the divine in me bows to the divine in you. You could do a fist pump. You can do an elbow, what do you ever call that? And there's something else that they were thinking of. Oh, what is it? The feet? The feet? Okay, the feet thing. Oh, and if you're really okay with this, you can do this. Where I come from, if you do that to somebody, you get 2 minutes in the sin bin. So please, the Christ that is you and the divine in you, please bow and to the Christ that is in all around you, however you feel appropriate, please.
Doing the bump. Now please remain standing. As you make your way back to your seats, we're going to begin a new song called Blessings.
Of spirit on earth, and
who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world, is a blessing to the world, is a blessing to the world.
Thank you, Zamar, for their musical gifts today. While we were greeting one another, I'll just acknowledge, isn't it hard not to hug? Yeah. And we're going to behave, practice some responsibility for one another in this one, and make choice about how we interact. And we still want to interact with our friends who are joining us on live stream this morning. So raise a shaka, give them a namaste, an air hug maybe, however you'd like to greet, because we know you are here in the presence with us today, and we're grateful for that. Some things I want to share going on in the community. There is an announcement in the bulletin for a workshop with Lee Shapiro, The Art of Melting Conflict. I want to tell you what a great workshop that is. The ministerial candidates enjoyed that training several years ago, and it was really valuable. What I want you to know also is it's postponed. So look for it in the future, because it is a valuable workshop. Other things happening. Next Saturday, Reverend Denese is giving a prayer chaplain training. So if you are considering becoming a prayer chaplain, if you're already a chaplain in service, come to this training. It's required. It's the prerequisite for new chaplains and the recurring training for those already in service. It's likely, although it says room 201, it's more likely to be in what we call the upper room, the minister's office. So come participate in that if you are called into service in prayer in our community. And next weekend, there will be a book signing with Joanne Lewis. Talk about someone who inspires a positive change in the world. Joanne has compiled a daily prayer book, and I encourage you to come celebrate her completion of this wonderful divine assignment and celebrate Joanne as a newly minted author. So lots going on in our community. Let's see, I'm looking for, there's Earl, our friend Earl. Would you stand, dear Earl? Yeah. Many of you know Earl as Sally's stepfather, if you will, and through his beloved Ruth wife, who passed over into spirit a couple of years ago. But Earl has been part of this community for so very long, and he's moving to the mainland tomorrow. So we wanted to celebrate Earl and say farewell to him. Would you all raise your hands with me so that we could give him a blessing? Earl, your journey continues. With joy and delight and new adventures. We send you with love and appreciation. And you are in our hearts always. Yes, thank you, Earl, so very much. Ralph and Sally are celebrating Earl today with a cake down in Connection Central. So go celebrate Earl after service today. And I believe it's Volunteer Sunday. Where would Francine be with that particular acknowledgement? And Reverend Denise.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Francine. So each month we like to acknowledge one of you as contributing to sacred service here in this ministry. And we're so blessed today to offer this acknowledgement to someone I get to work with on a weekly basis. So let's acknowledge Dana Taylor today. Yeah. Come on up. Fist bump. Here we go. So Dana has been so active in Keiki Chapel and each week and for quite some time. She's also does the groundskeeping and is. That's your hedge right there. Amazing work, creativity, and yeah, but also the ambassador program she just stepped right into. So we just want to acknowledge your creative energy, your willingness to say yes in so many unique ways, and your reliability. Thank you for saying yes to this ministry. We have a pastry for you. Is that sushi or? No, it's sweet. I'm sorry. I'm more into the savory, as you can see. Yeah, sushi. And you also get, of course, the parking space of the month, which is becoming more and more precious, right? Yeah, I have to fight for mine each day as well. So anyway, we are so blessed and grateful. So let's rub our hands together and give her our blessing as we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold Christ in you. Together, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Thank you, Dana. So let us prepare now through meditation with song and word.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a family. You are the face of God. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Today's reading is from Unity's Lent book, Fasting and Feasting 2020. Copies are available in Connection Central. Today's offering is from the Reverend Eric Butterworth for Sunday, March 8th, 2020. Is titled, The Mystery of God in You. Within every person is an unborn possibility of limitless growth, and ours is the privilege of giving birth to it. Paul obviously had this in mind when he referred to the mystery hidden for ages and generation, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Colossians 1, 26 and 27. Dwell for a while in the idea of the mystery of the universe as the allness that is we call God, realizing that everything within it, from the vast galaxies to the subatomic particles, is created in and of the universe. You may wonder about the vastness of the universe and peer at it through a telescope. However, you are not on the outside looking in. You are on the inside looking out. You are the universe at the point where you are. You are the universe at the point exactly where you are. Take a breath into that with me, if you will. Indeed. We are the universe exactly at the point of where we are. The reading is now finished. Please, if you will, join me in saying together our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in our life, the infinite, living, loving presence of God.
So join me now as we journey inwardly. We take this holy and precious moment by closing the outer eye and allowing that holy breath to relax the body temple. So truly, truly in this now present moment, we are looking out as the presence, as our point of power, as the life force that gives beauty, strength, and wholeness to all. There's a precious quickening that's happening with each of us, that we are ready for this paradigm shift. The shift that knows that there is one presence and one power. The infinite, living, loving presence of all that is. And I am looking out from this awareness. This beautiful mystery of life is becoming more and more aware of itself. And so we take this holy breath and we trust and know that prayer is the causative energy that reminds us of this health that is all around us. That there is a vital force within, shielding us from all outside forces. So we are now in the midst of pure awareness, breathing. This air and this energy and this life force that is supporting our very being. in the here and now. Let's take a moment to go into that still place within us. That aligns with this infinite presence. Where all truth resides and perfect life is expressed. A moment of silence. There is only one life, and that life is God. And I am joined into this life, this presence. I am one with the one. And in this beautiful holy sanctuary, there's a realization that comes upon us to trust and know that that presence in us is in our neighbor. And so as we move into opening our eyes in just a moment, we begin to see the Christ presence in each one. That is a mirror unto ourselves. And so let us complete this moment through sharing the Lord's Prayer, through the Aramaic version taught to us by Jesus. Join me. Father, Mother, Birther, and Breath of all, create a space inside us and fill it with your presence. Let oneness now prevail. Let one desire then acts through ours as energy fills all forms. Give us physical and spiritual nourishment each day. Untangle the knots of error that bind us as we release others. Don't let appearances make us forgetful of the source, but free us to act appropriately. Age to age from you comes the glorious harmony of life. May these statements be fertile ground from which our future grows. Amen and amen.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. You are my family. You are the face of God.
me out upon the water, the great unknown, where feet may fail.
And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand, and I will call upon your name, and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and tears surrounds me, you never fail, and you won't start now.
As your love in wave after wave crashes over me, crashes over me. You are for us, you are not against us. Champion of heaven, you made a way for all to enter in. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you may call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger. You make me brave. You make me brave. You call me out beyond the shore into the waves, and you make me brave. You make me brave. No fear can hinder now the promises you made. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine.
Thank you, Zamar. Beautiful. Excuse me. And Alethea, lovely, and our band. Thank you so much. So blessed. Good morning. So grateful to be here. Good morning to you online. And I know our board president is off in California, so sending you a shout out, Thomas. And he is with Reverend Tim today at the church in Marin. So, yeah. Two beautiful brothers. So I found a great line in this challenging time with the coronavirus and us wanting to stay clean and pure and also faithful. But this one minister sent out this prayer that I just loved. He says, prayer can cause an outbreak of a God-given health and accelerated recovery. Hallelujah. I meant to memorize it, but it just didn't happen. So So grateful. And thank you, Samar, for doing that song, Oceans, You Make Me Brave. That's God. Yes? Yes. So we're moving more deeply into our series, Braving the Wilderness with Brene Brown. I don't have my book. Does anybody have a book? There it is. Chip's got it. So I believe if you haven't signed up, that this is the last week to join a group. We have a Zoom online group, and we have a Wednesday night group that I believe is open. So down in our Connection Central, you can buy a book, get a study guide, and join in on this beautiful book study, which is just opening my heart. So today, we are celebrating International Women's Day. Woohoo! So from astronauts to athletes, from mathematicians to artists, from authors to poets to politicians, and even clergy. Yeah? Yeah. That we are just so grateful. I'm going to do a little shout out to someone. I was trying to think, who would I honor today? And I posted Maya Angelou, who's my all-time favorite, and she was reciting the poem Phenomenal Woman. So if you're a friend of mine, and you can be my friend, just look for me on Facebook, and it's on there. But Martha Smock is who I want to do, sort of point out. How many of you know that name? Yeah. So all of you students out there, Unity, Martha Smock was over 35 years as a Daily Word editor of Daily Word, starting in 1944 through the late 70s. So it was sort of unusual for women to have a leadership role. And what I celebrate is that Unity is sort of the leader in that, that we started our co-founder is a woman, a man and a woman, and I happen to love that idea. I think, I saw a play with Mary Magdalene. She came back to see me, but it was in San Francisco, and it was a beautiful rendition of Jesus' relationship with Mary Magdalene. And in that rendition, they were co-teachers. And it was like, that's how it happened. I'm sure that's how it happened. In my dreams, anyway. But it was a beautiful expression. So I'm happy to be a spiritual leader as a woman as well, and proud to be part of a ministry organization that promotes women in leadership. We have 2 CEOs in Unity right now that are women, and so that's sort of new as well. So we can just celebrate that. So this book is just one of the most treasured books. I don't know if you're familiar with Brene Brown, but she's sort of a woman who tells it like it is. Yes? Yeah. She just, decides that if she needs to use a swear word, she just does and doesn't apologize. But she's also very rich and faithful and real and authentic. And I think that's what I love about her most, is her deepness, how she goes beyond the ordinary, but also how she really adheres to faith and truth. So last week we talked about true belonging. That's a spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world, and then find a sacredness both in being part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. So true belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. Yes? Yeah. Yes. So we're not about fitting in. We're about standing for who we are. And I have committed to open-hearted living, which means that I have to sort of be willing to be vulnerable. I have to share with you my foibles and how I fall down and how human I have been in my life. And that's okay, because those are the people I admire, who don't stand up here and just preach principle that, of course, you should act this way. This is how easy it is. But to recognize that we are here in a human experience. We're having a human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. Yes? Yes. And sometimes we, just sort of thought, well, we're human, and every now and then we have a spiritual awakening. Right? Sometimes that feels like that because what? We go to sleep. Yes? We go to sleep. So therefore the conscious awareness of our oneness isn't quite there. But the reality is we are always spirit. We are here as a spirit. We are here to find out who and what we are as a spirit. And so we are born unto and into original blessing, to come and express the divine in human form. And when we leave this beautiful armor, we just change form, yes? We just go into a different dimension that you and I on this plane, for some of us, cannot see. But it's not a death of the soul. It's a shedding of the body. And the greater our awareness is around that, the more risks we take, yes? That we're not worried about this body. That it's here to get us around conveniently in this world. And so I'm reminded that these practices that we're teaching, they're challenging. They're challenging. And it's one of the ideas that we're looking at this week is that we're trying to find our way back to one another. That with the world the way it is, we're sorting ourselves into smaller and smaller groups. We're withdrawing from the world in different and greater ways. And we're surrounding ourselves only with people who think like us because it's more comfortable. Because I don't have to listen to someone who doesn't agree with me. So this work that we're looking at is about, there's 4 steps. This one that we're talking about today is people are hard to hate. Close up. Move in. Get closer, yes? The second one next week, Reverend Larry will be here, my beautiful partner, and he's going to share Speak Truth to BS and Be Civil. And the following week, Reverend Margie's going to offer this beautiful teaching of Hold Hands with Strangers. And the last one that I will join you with again is Strong Back, Soft Front, Wild Heart. Yes? So this is a beautiful journey into discovering our own way in the world, of coming back to one another. So the remainder of this book is we're going to look at how we can reclaim our human connection. That true belonging in the midst of this world is precious. And we want to find our way back to one another. And it's going to require, though, that we become vulnerable, that we become willing to choose comfort over courage. Wrong. Yeah, I thought you'd say, wait. That we're here to choose courage, yes? Over comfort. Because it's been our tendency to choose comfort over being courageous. And so it's just a question for ourselves, not to beat ourselves up, but is to ask, so am I deciding not to go to this event or meet with this person or have this conversation? Am I choosing comfort over courageousness? It's just a question. So we are here to become vulnerable and willing to choose that and to get through this wilderness experience. And even better, to become the wilderness, to become this wild part of life. Brene Brown says the wilderness is this untamed, unpredictable place of solitude and searching. It's a place as dangerous as it is breathtaking. It's a place sought after as it is feared. But this wilderness is sort of unknown, yes? So it's a matter of having the courage to move into those places where we don't know how. Whew, boy, I could tell you a lot about that. Being in ministry, I would show up at a ministry and I never know what I'm going to be walking into. And all of the things I learned the last time don't necessarily work, right? So one of the things that happened, I think I've shared with you many stories, but Larry and I went to ministerial school. He became an ordained minister, and I was a licensed teacher. And when we got to our first ministry, I mentioned in a story that I did not have a job. I would just, knew that God was guiding us, and I showed up, and that was a different story. So we were at that first ministry, and I got into the administrative role to enter into field licensing programs so I could become ordained. And I remember getting into the grind of my job. Anybody relate to the grind? Yeah. So it's just like, wow, I know I love this work, but really, I got to do that again, right? I've got to get all these administrative things, the bulletin created, the newsletter done, and, dozens and dozens of little tasks. And so it was a day that I wasn't doing very well in getting all my tasks done, that people were coming in and sort of interrupting me. That's the joke, right? Because I thought my job was administration, right? So the end of the day is probably 4 o'clock or after, and a woman comes in and she's distraught and upset and sad, and she's really needing support. And I wish I could tell you I just fell into my compassionate self and went, "Oh, darling, let me just pray with you." It was one of those eye-rolling moments of, really, my end of my day, and I haven't got everything done, and don't you know my schedule, Thank God I didn't say those words, but it was all over my face. You know what I'm saying? He's just like, all right, dear, I'll put everything down and just be here for you, right? So it was a holy moment in which I had to completely surrender over, and we got into the prayer room, and I opened myself up and, do what I do. And I said, okay, so share with me what's going on. And she went into her story, and I began to be taken over because it was a challenging story. I mean, she was still struggling with just maybe 30 to 60 days of sobriety. She was struggling with how to manage her kids. She was struggling on finding the right work. She was struggling on her relationship with her husband. I mean, it was one struggle after the other, and my heart just melted. And after some time, I fell into a space of prayer with her. And it was the most magical miracle moment that I recall, because I got out of myself. I got out of the doo-doo that we think is so important. Because, God's work is not on a list. It's in the moment, yes? Yeah. It's in the moment. that there's all these things that we need to accomplish and do and be. But God sent me that angel to remind me why I do this work. And after I had the revelation, I thanked her. And every time after that, I'm still crying because it was so beautiful. Every time after that, anytime anybody asked me for prayer, I said, oh yes, thank you. Because I need to get out of myself. Yes? And that's what prayer does. It gets us out of this world and into the connection with the divine. So that's why I can't wait to teach next Saturday's prayer class. I get to help others go to that faraway place that is 6 inches away from the head down to the heart. So God slapped me on the face to open my heart that day. Wake up, Denese. Know what your work is. I will give you the words. I will show you how to do it. It will not be on your to-do list. It's so much greater than that. Yes? It's so much greater than that. So it is our work to show up and trust that God will reveal our way. And God reveals our way in community. Whenever 2 or more are gathered, there I am in the midst of you. Yes? Yes, with the clear intention of calling that forth. And what I know is I believe in a world where we can speak words that are courageously compassionate. I believe that we can co-create that together by finding our way back to one another. Rather than yelling at each other or blaming or accusing, that we can find ourselves by showing up courageously with compassion and empathy. So I'd like to share a video today of Brené Brown, her description of what empathy is.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space where someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, huh? No. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." I had it, yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
It's so true that when we're really coming from our hearts, that's all that's necessary. We don't even have to have the words. But don't we sort of withhold, and we know someone needs help, and we might not call or pray with them because we're so afraid we might not say the right thing, or that we need to fix them, which is the worst thing, that we need to fix them somehow. We need to give them tools to get through this challenging time. But compassion is not about that. Compassion is feeling that arises when you are confronted with the suffering of another, and you feel motivated to relieve that suffering just by your presence. Yes, you may offer to do something, but in truth, 90% of the time, just your presence is all that's needed. And compassion is a deeply held belief that we are inextricably connected to each other by something greater, something outside of us. You and I, in this room anyway, we call that God. Something rooted in love and goodness. And we also know that if we focus on the Christ presence in that person, the absolute goodness in that person, then that will come forth. And that's what prayer is for, is moving out of the human experience into the spiritual solution. It's not a human solution. Don't do this and that and this. That's not what prayer is about. It is about us coming to ourselves and recognizing that we're spiritual beings, having a human experience. So empathy is the skill that brings about compassion to make compassion alive. We teach that on Tuesday nights for those that are interested. Compassionate communication. And it's a process taught by Marshall Rosenberg. And I love this practice. It's made me a better minister. It's made me a better leader, because I am now focused on what's going on for you beyond your story. That I no longer equate you to the victim story you might be sharing with me, but to your Christed nature, your cue card. I know who you really are, and right now, you have been triggered through life to forget who you are. That's all that's happening, yes? So it is our work as ministers, chaplains, lay leaders, to support you in your human journey, to remind you of the truth of who you are, and to bring us back into the oneness that God has us here. So empathy is about understanding someone else's perspective. Empathy is about staying out of judgment, not evaluating their circumstances and giving them all these scenarios of how they can get out of this situation that they got themselves into. It's not about judgment. It's about recognizing a feeling and need of another and communicating that. Empathy is a choice. It's always a choice. But sometimes it's a hard one because we have to first connect ourselves to what they might be feeling. And some of us think that if we connect to that feeling, we'll become it. But that's not how God works. All we have to do is connect to it so that we can have compassion for another human. We don't have to be it. We just have to know how that might be for them. That's all. One of the things we do in the face of difficulties is sometimes to try to fix people. And truthfully, what makes something better is just connection. Just connection. So, right now we're studying Marshall Rosenberg's work, and one of the chapters we looked at was expressing anger fully. What did she say? Expressing anger fully. So what we're talking about here is really looking at what's underneath our anger and recognizing that we're not upset for the reason we think. That's a Course in Miracles thing too, yes? Yeah. We're not upset for the reason we think. So the first step in expressing anger is to recognize that we want to divorce the other person from any responsibility for our anger. We want to rid ourselves of the thoughts that we're having about what they did. Because the other person is not the cause of our anger. They are the stimulus of our anger. We use language in different ways to sort of trick ourselves into believing that our feelings resulted from what people do to us. The cause of our anger lies in our thinking. The cause of our anger lies in our thinking, the thoughts of blame and judgment. So the first step in the process of fully expressing anger is to realize that what other people do is never the cause of how I feel. Whew. Really, Denise? The cause is from what we make it mean. So let's just take a simple example. You're waiting for somebody in the coffee shop to meet you for a meeting, and they're late. And you have a value that says punctuality is perfection. So you may get upset. You might get angry or perturbed. You may begin to think, they don't respect me. They don't want to be here. I'm not important enough. And we become indignant, right? So the behavior is only the stimulus for your thoughts that causes the feeling of anger, yes? You hear that one? Because you could walk into that coffee shop and you could have spent all day with a small child, and this is the only part of the day where it's quiet and you're alone. And you're so happy. Yes? And there's this peace. And you're so grateful to be sipping this coffee all by yourself. Yes? So again, the feeling of gratitude is a stimulus for the thoughts that this is the perfect moment. And so Marshall Rosenberg, the author of that book, is working with this person in prison. And he gets this person to sort of see that people are not responsible for how we feel. That how we feel is derived from the thoughts that are created from the behaviors that we recognize. And this man sort of breaks down and says, wow, had I known this before, I probably never would have killed my best friend. So his work is so powerful to recognize where the energy comes from us. We so think it's from something out there. But the more aware and awake we become, the more emotionally intelligent we become, we begin to recognize where it comes from. I'd like to show the next slide is a spoke on a wheel. So you could see here, yes, we have this beautiful circle, and we're all in the circle, and in the center of the circle is universal needs. And as you go out to the circumference, there's behavior on the outside. So we're all trying to get peace, let's say. Let's say our universal need is peace. And we're all trying to get peace. The difference between the center of the circle and the circumference is our strategies that want us to experience peace. And then the strategies lead to behaviors. So if we're having the conversation on the outside of the circle, we're having a conversation on something outside of us. And we're circling in the story, the behavior. But if we come to the center, we come to universal needs that we all have. That is where the conversation can be. Yes? Yes. So people are hard to hate. Close up. Move in. Get closer. Ask, tell me more about that experience. And let go of judging the behavior, but find out what their need is. So you can have a commonality. We want, just like our faith, in the center is God, let's say. And every spoke there is a different faith tradition, right? But we're all trying to get in the experience of God in the middle. And if we're focused on the outside of the ring, our differences, then we'll be separate from one another. But if we can move in and see that we're all wanting that one unique experience of the divine, then maybe we'll stop the wars. Yes? Yes. The difference between the center and the outside is just a strategy. It doesn't make us evil. So the conversation, when the conversation goes from out here to internally, the needs, the universal needs, then the wars will stop. And we could begin to have a conversation that is connecting, that brings more empathy and compassion and understanding. Brene Brown shared in one of her talks that I listened to, one of the things she loves about church is singing songs with strangers. And last month, I was out visiting my grandkids in Washington, and it was the first time my son and his wife let me take the kids to church. It was a holy moment. Now, we didn't go to a unit church. It didn't matter to me. But when we got back, I asked little Bianca, who's 3, what did you love about church? She said, singing. I loved the singing. And I found out as I continued our conversation that she rarely sings with adults. And I remember in that church service, she kept staring at me while I was singing. She's like, wow, what's happening? So if we begin to focus our attention on those holy moments, yes, where we are connected, to sing with strangers. Not all of us in this room know each other, right? Right? Right. That we are here, we're not complete strangers, but we don't know each other completely. But how wonderful it is, to let go of our fear, to come back to ourselves. So we're sort of, moving in. there's this affirmation I thought we would do together. Are you willing? Okay, let's look at it. Let's see. It's here. Okay, good. It's magical how that happens, right? I just ask and it appears. So let's say this together, okay? Immersed in a field of courage and bravery, I am willing to see and be seen. My world is made new as I live freely, love abundantly, and expand mindfully. Yes? So the last thing I want to read to you is just so wonderful, and I just want your soul to be ready to hear it. Now, if you'd like to close your eyes, because I might get a little boisterous, and just receive this soul to soul, okay? Okay. So, this is about the universe gently placing her hands upon your shoulders, pulling you close, and whispering in your ear, okay? I'm not screwing around. It's time. All this pretending and performing, all these coping mechanisms that you've developed to protect yourself from feeling inadequate and getting hurt has to go. Your armor is preventing you from growing into your gifts. I understand that you needed these protections when you were small. I understand that you believed your armor could help you secure all of the things you needed to feel worthy of love and belonging. But you're still searching, and you're more lost than ever. Time is growing short. There are unexplored adventures ahead of you. You can't live the rest of your life worried about what other people think. You were born worthy of love and belonging. Courage and daring are coursing through you. You were made to live and love your whole heart. It's time to show up and be seen. Yes? Let's pray. Precious Spirit, we are so ready to show up and be seen. We are so ready to be part of a universal world that supports love, compassion, empathy, understanding. A world that allows us to share our gifts abundantly. A world that is supportive and cooperative. A world that works for everyone. Thank you, God, for guiding us to these universal teachings. For this holy moment, we are ready, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. God bless.
Sometimes we don't see eye to eye. We don't agree, we don't know why. But Jesus prayed that we'd be one. So for the sake of everyone, can we put away our differences and lay down our pride? I think it's time we start turning the tide. Shall we gather at the river of forgiveness? Come together at the waters of love, flowing like a fountain from the mercy of giver. Shall we gather at the river?
We have all made enemies of the ones we're called by Christ to love.
But there's redemption at the riverside. The water's deep, the water's wide. We can wash away our bitterness, the current is strong.
I think we've been out in the desert too long.
Shall we gather at the river of forgiveness? Come together at the waters of
we're at the river. Thank you, Zamar. Beautiful, beautiful. It's a time in our service where we get together at the Unity to absolutely know that God is the source of our good. So it's a moment where we give back our green energy and trust and know that God is abundantly prospering us now. So let's take our offering in our hands and bless it. You can hold it in your heart, and if you're an online giver like I am, I just pretend. And so let's bless this green energy. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I said quietly, agreed politely.
I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. You held me down, but I got up, already brushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound, like thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up. Get ready, 'cause I've had enough. I see it all, I see it now. I got the eye of a tiger, a fighter, dancing through the fire, 'cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. Louder, louder than a lion, 'cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. You're gonna hear me roar.
I'm floating like a butterfly, singing like a bee. I've earned my stripes. I've gone from zero to my own hero.
You held me down, but I got up, already brushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound, like thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up. Get ready, 'cause I've had enough. I see it all, I see it now. I got the eye of a tiger, a fighter, dancing through a fire, 'cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. Louder, louder than a lion, 'cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. You're gonna hear me roar. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. You're gonna hear me roar.
I hope you roared today as you gave your gift into this community, because you are giving to what this community stands for, what we can contribute to one another, what we can contribute in our community, and what we are determined to contribute in the world. Did you sign up for that mission today? Hallelujah. And I thank you for the generous support that you all give in this space with your hearts, your love, your compassion, and that green stuff. We thank you because it all moves us forward together. So we bless what's been given. We honor the gifts that we receive. And we say thank you that we are empowered to do great work in this world. And so it is. Thank you, God. Please remember to go down to the courtyard today and celebrate Earl Lyle as he steps into a new adventure, moving to the mainland tomorrow. Thank you to everyone who contributes to the amazing experience we have on Sunday morning. How about our music team, Zamar, Alethea, and our band? And we want to welcome those of you who bring your spirit into this space. And so if there's anyone here for the first time, we'd like to welcome you as our honored guest today. And we'd invite you to stand so that we may bring you a gift. Anyone here for the first time today? Visitors? Yes, over here on the Diamond Head side. Thank you. You are being given a kukui nut lei, as well as an information packet about our community. The lei represents the light that you are. And so thank you for bringing that light to us this morning. And if we'll stand, rather than take a hand today as we do our peace song, how about if we give our own self an honoring hug today? Yes? While we respect one another's wishes for health and wholeness expressed through God in this community. So if you'll stand, maybe you can do a little hip check side to side. Oh, and welcome the online folks too. Oh yeah.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Hello, 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 Eke ona mona no ikaripo. One fond embrace, until we meet again.
Mahalo for joining us. We will see you next week. Blessings.